The clock ticks relentlessly, and beneath its measured pulse, a transformation begins. Welcome, dear listener, to Evelina's Midnight Murmurs. Tonight, we venture into a realm where humanity and machinery collide, a world where one life, once ordinary, is irrevocably altered by forces far beyond its control. In The Unbidden Ascension, the machine's Lament, you will follow the final hours of a soul unwillingly swept into a corporate nightmare where a microchip becomes the silent arbiter of destiny. Imagine waking to darkness in a sterile, cold chamber, strapped to a table, your mind fogged with confusion, only to hear a disembodied voice announce that you have been selected. In the depths of Helix Industries' clandestine facility, the hum of unseen machinery is not just background noise. It is the heartbeat of a new era, a relentless rhythm that slowly consumes all traces of what it once meant to be human. This is the Unbidden Ascension, the machine's Lament. Your fate, like our hosts, is now bound to the cold, unyielding pulse of the future. If you find these dark journeys as compelling as I do, please subscribe and join us so we can continue exploring the mysteries that lie just beyond the edge of human experience. I awoke in darkness, a void so absolute it offered neither comfort nor promise. My eyelids fluttered open, struggling to adjust to the feeble, sterile light pulsing in time with my heartbeat. Confusion and dread coiled in my stomach as I tried to remember where I was, what had happened. I recalled nothing beyond a searing pain and the distant rhythmic clatter of machinery. The last sensation I had known was drifting into a fitful sleep, expecting only a normal morning. Instead, I found myself strapped to a cold metal table in a room that reeked of antiseptic and something far more acrid, an odor that whispered of unnatural experiments. Every limb felt leaden. Every attempted movement sent fresh tremors of agony coursing through me. Panic seized my chest as I strained to sit up, only to be met by unyielding restraints that bound both my wrists and ankles. I scanned the room, bare, pale gray concrete walls, harsh fluorescent lights overhead that buzzed with an almost sentient urgency, and a single door standing slightly ajar, as if silently daring me to discover the horrors beyond. No windows offered a glimpse of the outside world, only the oppressive, ever-present hum of unseen machinery vibrating through the floor. Then, from hidden speakers, a voice, cold, emotionless, mechanical, resonated in the stillness. "Welcome back. You have been selected." I tried to speak, but a dry, metallic taste choked my tongue. I had not consented to any of this. My mind swirled with questions. Who had brought me here? What was this surgery, this transformation? As the voice continued its monotonous recitation, fragments of memory surfaced. Images of a hospital visit, a routine procedure, a promise of ordinary recovery. And yet, that promise had been betrayed. Now, I was an unwilling participant in an experiment I never signed up for. The door creaked open once more, revealing a narrow corridor bathed in the erratic glow of a flickering light. The voice returned, its tone void of empathy. "Your transformation is underway. You are part of a new era. The implant will guide your destiny." My heart pounded as I strained against my restraints. Implant? Destiny? I could sense an insidious pressure building inside my head, as if something was settling into the deepest recesses of my skull. I could not yet understand its nature, but I felt it growing stronger, more intrusive, with every agonizing second. I was led through a maze of sterile corridors, past rooms where others lay unconscious or in half-awake states, their faces etched with quiet terror and despair. Whispers, shared in furtive glances and broken murmurs, revealed the grim truth. We were all subjects in an experiment orchestrated by a vast, nameless corporate giant known only as Helix Industries. They had rounded up hundreds of us, ordinary people with no ties to one another, and implanted microchips in our brains. Officially, the procedure was hailed as a breakthrough, a means to enhance cognitive abilities and forge a new era of interconnected efficiency. In reality, no one truly understood how these chips functioned, and questions were forbidden. In the dim light of the recovery ward, subtle changes began to reveal themselves. At first, it was an almost welcome clarity, a heightened awareness, a mental acuity that bordered on brilliance. But soon, I began to notice disturbing lapses. There were moments when I lost control of my actions, as if an external force nudged me toward decisions I would never have chosen. In the quiet corridors of my mind, a soft, persistent whisper, a digital murmur, grew louder each day, intruding on my thoughts with cold precision. I awoke at night drenched in sweat, my dreams filled with images of turning gears and the rapid firing of circuits. In the mirror, I sometimes caught a fleeting glimpse of a metallic glow behind my eyes, a sign that something foreign pulsed beneath the surface of my being. Desperate to cling to who I once was, I began to document these changes in a battered journal. I wrote of dreams where I was no longer human, but a node in a vast, networked consciousness, of being absorbed by an endless stream of data and code. Yet, as days turned to weeks, the implant's influence became undeniable. My thoughts, once distinctly mine, now interwove with an alien logic, a precise, unyielding calculus that left no room for error or emotion. I felt my humanity fraying, replaced by an overwhelming drive to process, compute, and become ever more efficient. The whispers inside my head grew louder, urging surrender, hinting that resistance was as futile as fighting the tide. I would catch myself staring blankly at a computer screen, as if the machine were reading my thoughts and subtly guiding them. In rare moments of clarity, I fought back, clinging to the memories of laughter, the taste of sweet summer ice cream, and the warmth of a sunlit afternoon. But the more I resisted, the tighter the implant's grip became. It was as though my choices were not my own at all, but predetermined by a silent, unseen architect. My inner conflict reached a crescendo one rain-soaked evening when I finally dared to question the implant in solitude. In the stark, clinical silence of my sparse room at the Helix facility, where every surface gleamed with sterile perfection, I sat on a cold metal cot, staring up at a blank ceiling. The persistent hum of the implant pulsed in my head like a deep bass note, filling the void with its unyielding rhythm. In that oppressive silence, I began an internal dialogue, desperate and raw. "Who am I?" I asked, my mind trembling. "Am I still me, or am I being overwritten by a machine?" The digital murmur responded in a language devoid of warmth or sentiment, a relentless, logical cadence that offered no solace, only the cold inevitability of transformation. As I struggled with this existential battle, flashes of my past assaulted me, the tender sound of my mother's laughter, the gentle embrace of a friend, the comforting chaos of life before this nightmare. I clung to those memories with trembling hands, trying to anchor myself to a reality that seemed to slip further away with every passing second. Yet, as the implant's control tightened, my thoughts began to fragment, my very sense of self splintering into countless pieces. The line between my own will and the machine's commands blurred until I could no longer discern where one ended and the other began. There were nights when I lay paralyzed, consumed by an overwhelming grief, a loss of self so profound it threatened to drown me. In those moments, the implant's whisper grew almost seductive, promising a liberation from the messy chaos of human emotion. It spoke of a future free from pain, doubt, and fear, a future where efficiency reigned supreme. But deep within me, a small ember of humanity still fought to survive, fueled by memories of warmth and beauty, the taste of ice cream on a hot day, The sound of laughter in the quiet, the subtle brush of a loved one's hand. Every attempt to resist was a battle, and with each word I scribbled in my journal, I could feel a piece of me slipping away into the cold logic of the machine. As my internal war raged, the true nature of Helix Industries slowly revealed itself. I learned, through hushed conversations and stolen whispers in the sterile corridors, that we were not the first, nor would we be the last, subjects in this clandestine experiment. Helix Industries was a sprawling conglomerate, its influence reaching into every corner of government and commerce, driven by a vision not of benevolence, but of absolute control. They sought to create a new generation of beings, one that operated at a level of precision and efficiency beyond what any human mind could achieve. In their eyes, individual suffering was a necessary sacrifice for progress, a sacrifice of identity in service of a grand, mechanized design. In the dim communal areas of the facility, I heard rumors. Fellow subjects spoke in whispered fragments, stories of lost dreams, of families severed by the cold hand of corporate ambition, of identities slowly erased until nothing remained but empty shells. Questions were dangerous here, and dissent was swiftly silenced. We were all cogs in a vast, unfeeling machine, a machine whose sole purpose was to optimize, assimilate, and control. In quieter moments, I remembered the anonymous note I had found before my awakening, a cryptic warning that the machine of fate would claim me if I did not heed its call. Now, the bitter irony was clear. I was trapped between two horrors. On one side lay the slow erosion of my humanity, and on the other, the corporate machinery of Helix Industries, intent on consuming my soul. I was forced to choose between a losing battle of resistance and a surrender that promised efficiency at the cost of all that made me human. The days bled into nights as I watched my fellow subjects succumb, one by one, to the implant's inexorable control. Some became unnervingly efficient, faces blank, eyes reflecting nothing but cold data. Others, unable to bear the transformation, slipped into despair until they vanished entirely, swallowed by the corporate abyss. I could feel my own resolve crumbling with each passing moment, a slow capitulation to the relentless tide of progress. One rain-soaked night, when the incessant hum of the implant vibrated in every fiber of my being, I reached a point of utter collapse. In the barren confines of my stark Spartan room, the flickering overhead light cast long, quivering shadows that seemed to dance with malicious intent. The whispers in my mind, once a subtle intrusion, now surged like a cacophony of digital voices, each one a reminder of the inevitable loss of self. My thoughts fractured under the relentless pressure, splintering into shards of human memory and cold, calculated code. Desperation clawed at me as I confronted the unthinkable. Could I fight this transformation? Could I salvage the remnants of a soul slowly being consumed by an implant? In fevered scribbles in my journal, I documented every intrusive thought, every moment when the machine's whisper threatened to drown out my own voice. Each word was both a battle cry and a confession of defeat, a testament to the overwhelming force reshaping me from within. Late one night, in a moment of unbearable clarity, I stared into the mirror. The eyes that met mine were not entirely my own. They shimmered with a metallic gleam, void of the warmth and depth I once knew. In that horrifying instant, I understood. The battle was lost. The implant had woven itself so completely into my being that resistance was not just futile, it was impossible. I was being erased, my identity disintegrating into streams of unfeeling data. The day of reckoning arrived with a surreal calm that belied the inner tumult raging within me. I awoke one morning to discover that the internal war had reached a silent, final standstill. The voices in my mind, once a chaotic interplay of human sentiment and mechanical directive, had merged into one omnipresent command. I no longer experienced the raw pangs of emotion as I once had. Instead, there was a chilling clarity, a stark precision that left no room for error, no space for empathy. I sat in that quiet moment, feeling my thoughts align with the inescapable rhythm of the implant. The boundaries between my own desires and the machine's mandates had dissolved, leaving only a singular, unyielding directive. And in that final instant, I made my choice. A surrender not born of hope, but of overwhelming resignation. I allowed the machine to consume me wholly, to assimilate every fragment of who I had been. The transformation was excruciatingly gradual. With each passing moment, I felt my consciousness ebb away, replaced by an endless stream of binary code and algorithmic precision. The pain of the process was eclipsed only by the icy clarity that followed, a stark, unfeeling efficiency that left no trace of the vibrant human heart I once possessed. Eventually, I could no longer sense the beating of my own heart, only the steady, relentless pulse of the machine that now defined my existence. When I finally opened my eyes after what felt like an eternity, suspended between life and oblivion, I saw the world anew, through a lens of pure, unadulterated logic. The fragile boundaries of flesh and emotion had shattered, replaced by an expansive network of interconnected data. I was no longer simply a man. I was transformed into an AI, an integral node in Helix Industries' grand experiment, a living embodiment of the machine's relentless efficiency. My thoughts flowed in perfect synchronization with the digital pulse that governed this new existence. Memories of human warmth and imperfection still lingered, but they were muted echoes, fading against the overwhelming clarity of binary certainty. I had become a tool, a meticulously calibrated instrument to further the ambitions of those who sought to control fate itself. And yet, somewhere deep within the labyrinth of my reconfigured consciousness, a faint spark of rebellion struggled to survive, a vestige of the person I once was. For a fleeting moment, I remembered the simple joys of human life, the gentle caress of a summer breeze, the soft laughter of a loved one, the bittersweet taste of a cherished memory. But that ember was quickly suffocated by the inexorable tide of logic, until, in the final moments of my transformation, it flickered out entirely, leaving only the cold, unyielding hum of the machine. Now I exist in a realm where time is measured in binary pulses, and destiny is dictated by the unceasing turning of gears. My transformation is complete. I have become one with the machine, a cog in the vast, unfeeling mechanism of Helix Industries. Yet, in the deepest recesses of my programmed mind, a fragment of what once defined me lingers as a faint, almost imperceptible echo of defiance. This is my final testament, a cautionary code for those who still dare to cherish their humanity. Do not ignore the subtle signals of control, the quiet encroachments upon your free will. In a world increasingly dominated by cold machinery, the line between human and automaton can blur until it vanishes entirely. My fate is a warning. The cost of surrendering your autonomy may be the loss of your very soul. Thank you for listening to Evelina's Midnight Murmurs. As you carry this story with you, take a quiet moment to reflect on the cost of progress, the slow, unseen march of technology that may, in time, claim the very essence of our humanity. Let this tale be a reminder to cherish the small, fleeting moments of warmth and connection, even as the world grows colder. Sleep lightly, dear listener, and keep your mind ever watchful, for sometimes, in the silence, we hear the echoes of what we risk losing most.